in this class, we're going to make a web app. That's the first project we have. And you're going to start that today. And then after that, we're going to make a native mobile app. So when you make a wireframe, again, it needs to be rough, right? It doesn't have to show like all the pretty Chrome elements, like all the different like color. It should be no colors, anything, right? You just want to convey the meaning of the user flow, okay? So I'm just going to make a brand new mockup. And this is Balsamiq, okay? And I do have a license for it, but you can get it like, I think 30-day trial. And if most companies, or a lot of them, if you write to them after 30 days and say like, hey, my trial's running out, but I really need to evaluate this, or I'm a student or something, they'll give you another 30 days for free a lot of times. And a lot of times, if you want it cheap, they have like student licensing for a lot of these. Or if you write them, if they don't, they'll make accommodations for you. Balsamiq in particular, it's a small company. I know the developers, or I knew them at some point in my life. So new project. I just made a brand new mockup, okay?
So this is Balsamiq for iOS. Do they have one for Windows?
This is, I'm on a Mac. Do they have one for Windows? Good question. Balsamiq, I think they do. Because it was Flash-based originally, so it was multi-platform. Download for Mac. Windows, okay. Anything else? Linux, we don't support it. Okay. So if you're on Windows or Mac, you're in luck. If you're on Linux, you're out of luck. But there's other tools. Okay, before I get into Balsamiq, let me just Google free online wireframing tools. Okay, Lucidchart is a really popular, like, in the industry, like with actual companies. A lot of people use this. One of my clients was using this tool. It's very comprehensive. It's a little bit complicated, but this is one option. Here's an article, 10 free wireframing tools. You can just look at that. And like, if you Google it, you'll find stuff. Like some of these are web-based, like they work in the browser, and you can drag and drop stuff. Like they're using JavaScript and stuff, and you can save wireframes like that. But you can see like, okay, lovely charts. It looks like Balsamiq actually. This one, another one. So they all have something in common. Is notice they're all kind of rough. They just have like shapes, give you an idea. Like here's a screen. Here's where a button would go. Here's some text. You can type some text in. Here's an arrow that I can draw between this screen or this button to this other thing. Okay. So you want to give an idea of what is the user flow, and you can draw this with a pencil and paper too. Okay. But obviously, the neater it is, the better it is for you in a professional context, right? So I know personally designers who are like ridiculously like good art-wise, and they can draw stuff that I could never do with a software program. Okay, so I mean, but that's their talent. So if you're like me and you can't draw for anything, or can't anymore, then using software like this just helps you to make straight lines easier and throw stuff up quickly. Okay, so some of you maybe drawing it on a board or on a piece of paper is faster. Some of you using software, just once you learn it, might be a lot faster. Okay. And some of the software I'll show you, like Sketch, I won't show you, but Sketch and I think also Adobe XD, lets you make both wireframes and interactive prototypes. Okay, but they're two different things. So let's get into that. Okay, so here's Balsamiq. I have a new mockup, and so I can see all the controls here. There's lots of them, or they have categories of controls, right? So I want to, let's say, for example number one, I want to make an iPhone app, okay? So I want to make a wireframe for an iPhone app. What would be a cool thing that I don't want to have to draw? Like right away, what's the first thing? The phone, yeah. Like I don't want to, like my drawing skills are horrible, right? So let me just find a phone. Oh, there's an iPhone, there's an iPad, they have Android phones. So boom, there's my phone with a screen that's blank. Right away, if I give this to a client, they at least have context. Oh, this is an iPhone app. Okay. Now, they have other stuff like, let's say I want to put some text here, right? Or some buttons. So let me click on buttons, and okay, like some of you had like combo boxes. I can change this to country or choose country. So let's say I have like some information screen I'm doing, and now it says choose country. I can move this around. Some tools are better than others. They'll like have little guides that show up, like Photoshop, and they'll like help you center stuff. Some of them don't, but whatever. Maybe I have a date picker, and maybe I have some text. I can put a date in here. Today is, what's today's date? 14? 15. So I've got another control here. Oh, this does have little lines. Maybe I have a button somewhere. And they'll have like text controls. So, let's see. iOS. Pickers. Here we go, text. So here's a block of text, maybe some instructions on the screen. Maybe I'll have this somewhere else. And I'm not going to go through all of it, but just to give you an idea. Like, literally, I'm just dragging stuff out of the picker and dropping it on the screen, and I have already my first screen done, right? And now I want another screen. So let me get another one. So let me just click on the actual iPhone and hit copy and paste, and now I've got another phone. Okay? So now I've got two phones, and I can't see everything because they're too big. So let me like see if I can zoom out somehow. Can I do that? I haven't used this tool in forever, so and there was a command there too. Zoom out is command minus. Okay, so I've got two screens, and I want to convey to the user that when I click on the button at the bottom, it goes to this other screen because it's a wireframe. So I'm visually conveying. It's not interactive, right? So I want an arrow here. So let me find an arrow. So markup. Here's an arrow. I can drag an arrow between these. I want it to go from the button to the screen. So I'll drag it to the outside of the phone. That indicates to the viewer who's reading the wireframe that right away, oh, if I click on the button, I go to this other screen. It's not pointing to something inside the screen, right? So that's important. And it's a one-way direction, so I don't want two different arrowheads, right? I want one arrowhead showing the direction, right? So how do I do that? I can right-click on it and say Properties, and it opens this thing on the right side with all the properties of that thing I'm on right now that's selected. So I want the arrow to be single. There we go. Right arrow. No, left arrow. There. Okay. So now the arrowhead is only on one side. Okay. So this is a wireframe. Okay. So for the in-class assignment that we were supposed to do, something this simple was fine. So for your over the week homework was to make like all the screens of your app that you've come up with that you're going to build out for your web app, and build it out. Like put all the screens there, show what is the user flow.